Hello guys, gals and non-binary pals, welcome back to Budget Brew with me Lotus of Lotusbloom Gaming. Today we're doing one of the new legendary creatures, Glissa Sunslayer, from the All Will Be One Phyrexia set. So, Glissa Sunslayer is 1 black green for a legendary creature Phyrexian zombie elf, 3/3, first strike and Deathtouch. Whenever Glissa Sunslayer deals combat damage to a player, choose one. Draw a card and lose a life. Destroy target enchantment. Remove up to 3 counters from target permanent. The fact that it's got first strike and Deathtouch is amazing. And card draw and removal on the card as well. It's just a beautiful commander. But before we get into it, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you like us. And check the link below to join the Discord to discuss more future commanders or even share games with other members. And we are sponsored or have an affiliate with Pinfinity, where you can pick up these amazing enhanced ultra cool augmented reality pins. You also, if you use Lotus in each cart, you get 20% off, which also supports the channel. So let's start with a deck, going straight into ramp. Circuitous Route, that helps us get up to 2 lands. Commander Sphere gets any colour that we need, plus can draw a card in the late game. Cultivate again for 2 basic lands, and Darksteel Ingot for any colour, but the card is indestructible. Explore the Underdark, 4 and a green, search your library up to 2 basic land cards and gates, or gates, put them onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle, then we take the initiative. Far Wanderings, 2 and a green, search your library for a basic land and put it onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle your library. If we have Threshold, instead search your library for 3 basic land cards and put them into play tapped. That's if we have 7 or more cards in our graveyard. Golgari Keys Rune, 3 mana, taps for black or green, but it also becomes a 2/2 insect with Deathtouch. Golgari Locket, 3 mana, adds black or green, but can draw us 2 cards in the late game when we're needing some card draw. Letter of Acceptance, 3 mana, adds 1 of any colour, but we can sacrifice it to draw a card. Leyline Prowler, it's basically a Deathtouch mana dork with lifelink. Migration Path, we can get 2 basic lands, and if we have too much land, we can cycle it for an extra card. Rampant Growth, search for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tapped and shuffle. And then Roiling Regrowth, where we can sack a land, go get 2 lands. And Skyclave Relic, 3 mana, indestructible, adds 1 mana of any colour, but if we make the kicker cost, we make 2 identical copies. So let's go for our card advantage. Family's Favour, 2 and a green enchantment. Whenever we attack, put a shield counter on target attacking creature. Until end of turn, it gains whenever this creature deals combat damage to a player. Remove a shield counter from it. If you do, draw a card. If a creature with a shield counter on it would be dealt damage or destroyed, remove the shield counter from it instead. So it kind of gives it regenerate. Night's Whisper, 1 and a black, sorcery. Draw 2 cards and lose 2 life. Read the Bones, scry 2, draw 2, lose 2. And Signing Blood, draw 2, lose 2. All the basic black draw spells. We have quite a bit of removal. We have Back to Nature, which just destroys all enchantments because there is a lot of them out there. Barrier Breach, my favourite card at the moment, or since last year. 2 and a green for an instant. Exile up to 3 target enchantments, and if we don't need to, we can cycle it for a card. Bite Down, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker you don't control. If it's our commander, it has Deathtouch. Also, when we get to the creatures, you might see why also this is very good. Bonds of Morality, 1 and a green for an enchantment. When it enters, draw a card, which is always good. And for a single green, creatures your opponents control lose hexproof and indestructible until end of turn, which is great with all our Deathtouch creatures. Kind of slipped there, didn't they? Death Sprout, 1 black, black, green. Destroy target creature and search your library for a basic land. Again, removal, but with ramp. Golgari Charm. We either get to give all creatures -1/-1, destroy target enchantment, or regenerate each creature we control. Putrefy, 1 black, green for an instant. Destroy target artifact or creature. It can't be regenerated. And Ram Through, 1 and a green, instant, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. If the creature you control has trample, excess damage is dealt to that creature's controller instead. And then Tear Asunder, the new one. 1 and a green, exile target artifact or enchantment. If this spell was kicked for an extra 1 and a black, exile target non-land permanent instead. We always need a bit of grave hate, so the 2 that I've chosen is Honoured Heirloom, 3 mana for a mana rock, but 2 and tap, exile target card from a graveyard, and Stone Speaker Crystal, 4 mana for a mana rock again. However, for 2 and tap, sacrifice this, exile any number of target players' graveyards, and draw a card. For just a little bit of support, we have Vraska Swarm's Eminence, 2 hybrid black-green, black-green. 5 Loyalty Planeswalker with whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals damage to a player or Planeswalker, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. All of our creatures that you're going to find out have Deathtouch. And -2, create a 1/1 black assassin creature token with Deathtouch, and whenever this creature deals damage to a Planeswalker, destroy that Planeswalker. And here it is. Deathtouch Tribal. We're going to start with Acidic Slime. It's a Deathtouch 2/2 that when it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Ambush Viper is a 2 mana 2/1 with Flash and Deathtouch. Archetype of Finality, 4 black, black for a 2/3. Creatures you control have Deathtouch. That's irrelevant, everything we have has Deathtouch. However, creatures your opponents control lose Deathtouch and can't have or gain Deathtouch. And Bone Picker for 3 and a black, but this spell costs 3 generic less to cast if a creature died this turn. It's a flying Deathtouch. Cheville Bane of Monsters, green-black for a 1/3 with Deathtouch. At the beginning of your upkeep, if your opponent has no permanents with bounty counters on them, put a bounty counter on target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls. Whenever a permanent an opponent controls with a bounty counter on it dies, gain 3 life and draw a card. Embodiment of Agonies, 1 black, black for a demon. It's a 0/0, however, it's a flying Deathtouch that enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter on it for each different mana cost among non-land cards in our graveyard. All it needs is 1, and it's just as good. Fing the Fangbearer, 1 and a green for a 1/3 Deathtouch. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters. All we need to hit them is with 5. And they die. Gifted Aetherborn, double black for a Deathtouch lifelinker. Gonti, Lord of Luxury, 2 black, black for a 2/3 with Deathtouch. When Gonti, Lord of Luxury enters the battlefield, look at the top 4 cards of target opponent's library. Exile 1 of them face down and put the rest on the bottom of the library in a random order. You may look at and cast that card for as long as it remains exiled, and you may spend mana as though it was mana of any type to cast that spell. Harvester of Souls, 4 black, black for a 5/5 with Deathtouch. Whenever another non-token creature dies, you may draw a card. Henrika Domlathi, 2 black, black for a flying vampire 1/3. At the beginning of combat on your turn, choose one that hasn't been chosen. Each player sacrifices a creature. You draw a card and lose a life, and then we transform it into a 3/4 that buffs everything with flying or Deathtouch. Hooded Blightfang, 2 and a black for a 1/4 snake with Deathtouch. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch attacks, each opponent loses a life and you gain a life. Whenever a creature you control with Deathtouch deals damage to a planeswalker, destroy that planeswalker. That's going to drain our opponents for a lot, seeing as everything we have has Deathtouch. And Deathtouch to planeswalkers seems pretty good too. Hornet Queen, a bit expensive at 7 mana for a 2/2. But when it enters the battlefield, we make 4 more 1/1 green insects with flying and Deathtouch. So we get a total of 5 Deathtouch flying creatures for 7 mana. Nighthawk Scavenger, 1 black for a vampire rogue with flying, Deathtouch and lifelink, and its power is equal to 1 plus the number of card types in your opponent's graveyards. Oakham Adversary, 3 and a green, but it costs 2 less to cast if an opponent controls a green permanent. It has Deathtouch, and when it deals combat damage to a player, draw a card. Ochran Assassin, 1 black-green with Deathtouch, and all creatures able to block this do so. If we're able to Alpha Strike someone, but there are a few annoying creatures in the way, throw this at it, and every one of their creatures have to block it, and all our others get through just as fine. God of Affliction, 1 black-green for a 5/5 indestructible. As long as your devotion to black and green is less than 7, it's not a creature. But for black and green, exile target creature card from a graveyard. Its owner puts a +1/+1 black and green snake enchantment creature token with Deathtouch onto the battlefield. We don't have that much recursion, so we just exile ours to replace our Deathtouchers with another Deathtoucher. Plague Engineer, 2 and a black for a 2/2. As it enters the battlefield, choose a creature type. Creatures of the chosen type of your opponent's control get -1/-1. Good old Questing Beast, 2 green for a 4/4 Vigilance Deathtouch Haste. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. Combat damage that would be dealt by creatures you control can't be prevented. And whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to target planeswalker that player controls. Skullwinder, 2 and a green for a 1/3 Deathtoucher. When it enters the battlefield, return target card from your graveyard to your hand, and then choose an opponent. That player returns a card from their graveyard to their hand. Probably the only recursion we have. And finally, Thorn of the Black Rose, just to add the Monarch into the game, and Vampire Nighthawk for more flying Deathtouch lifelink. Right, now let's make these Deathtouchers even more dirty. With the equipment section. Bladed Pinions, 2 mana to give our Deathtouch creatures flying and first strike. Chariot of Victory, 3 mana equipment. Equipped creature has first strike, trample and haste. Fire Shrieker, 3 mana. Equipped creature has double strike. Again, first strike and regular strike. Nodachi, 2 mana, equipped for 3, +2/+0 and has first strike. Sharpened Pitchfork, 2 mana for an equipment. As long as it is a human, it gets +1/+1. I doubt that'll even matter. Equipped creature has first strike. Sword of Vengeance, 3 mana for equipped 3. Equipped creature gets +2/+0, has first strike, vigilance, trample, and haste. Viridian Claw, 2 mana, equipped for 1. Equipped creature gets +1/+0 and has first strike. And Viridian Longbow for a single mana, and then 3 to equip. Equipped creature has, this creature deals 1 damage to target creature or player. So all 7 are given first strike, so we don't need to worry about our defense. Our first strike will kill their creatures because of Deathtouch. And the Viridian Longbow means we can just ping creatures with our Deathtouch creatures to kill them, so it's kind of removal in itself there too. But how are we going to win? With these 3 lovely cards. We're going to overrun 2 triple green for a sorcery. Creatures you control get +3/+3 and gain trample to end of turn. Overwhelming Stampede, 3 green. Until end of turn, creatures you control gain trample and +X/+X, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. Now the fun thing with Deathtouch and Trample is when you have Trample, you have to assign lethal damage to the creature before you trample over. With Deathtouch, that is just 1 damage. So we swing with all our creatures, they declare their blockers, we assign 1 damage to their creature, and the rest will trample over. Vorpal Sword is a single black. Quick creature has +2/+0 and Deathtouch. It equips for double black, however for 5 and triple black, until end of turn, Vorpal Sword gains whenever a quick creature deals combat damage to a player, that player loses the game. And if we can get that through, it's going to be great. With the mana base, Hissing Quagmire enters the battlefield taps for green or black. However, for 1 black-green, it becomes a 2/2 black and green elemental creature with Deathtouch. So it's just an extra little creature that we can just sneak through now and again. And to make the Vorpal Sword a little bit more scary, Rogue's Passage to make target creature unblockable. It'll be rounded off with 17 forests and 17 swamps, just because we want to keep it under the $40 budget. Otherwise you can add in so much more to the mana base in regards to dual lands, like gates and such. But just for simplicity, this is what we've got. As you can see here, the full deck, including the commander, comes in as under $40 at $38.92 as TCG market price average. So what's your thoughts on this deck? A Deathtouch tribal with First Strike looking to kill everything in its path and drain our opponents for everything they have, basically. If there's any way that you'd build Glissa different, I'd love to know. If you join the Discord, I'd love to chat to you about it and actually see your deck lists. But otherwise, thanks for joining in. I hope to see you again soon. Don't forget to subscribe, and have a wonderful day.